You want to hear something funny? Everybody's complaining in our live chat and everything over here that we talk too much about the quarterbacks, that we talk too much about Aaron Rodgers, that we talk, too much about the stuff that is out there everywhere. Let's get into something else. So we get into something else. Just want you to know how this works, okay? Because it's just a handful of people who say this, but then our views, not that we do this for views, but our views yesterday were the lowest we've had for any episode, because this is all anybody wants to talk about. Why are you kidding yourself that you'd even want to hear anything else? So you know what? I got something for you today regarding, watch, I'm going to say this out loud, Aaron Rodgers and the quarterback situation. It's not news, of course, because there hasn't been news. There's not going to be news in all likelihood. And maybe there's a reason for that. Can I just throw this out there? Well, do you remember, if you've been following this stuff really closely, how the Vikings popped up into this probably about, 5 or 6 days ago, where for a while it was just the Steelers and the Giants. And then all of a sudden, Aaron might be interested in Minnesota. Oh, really? Aaron might be interested in Minnesota. The people who actually cover the Vikings, meaning for a living, not the hot takes people, not the ones who, couldn't find Minneapolis on a map. The people who are there covering the Vikings were like, no, not no, they didn't want him, but no, the Vikings aren't doing this. We're aware of the Vikings plan. This doesn't make any sense. Vikings wouldn't be interested in this at all. And one reporter who covers the Vikings actually said out loud that they aren't interested. They know exactly who they want to have as their quarterback. So what ends up happening? Minnesota thing starts gaining a little bit, and people, where there's smoke, there's fire. My least favorite saying of all. The thing builds up, and early this week, what do you know? The Vikings make it known through their own channels, through the people who actually cover the team, and say, no, we're not interested in Aaron Rodgers. You know where I'm going with this, right? How serious, presuming that the Steelers are serious at all about Rodgers, might they be or not be? Now, I'm telling you what I have heard. There's absolutely been contact. There's absolutely been an offer made. Okay, so I'm not pretending that that's fake like it was with the Vikings. Okay, I've heard that myself, meaning from the Steelers. But what if it's just a fallback type of offer? What if it's hey, we're going to put this here. It's 1 year and come up with some, whatever amount of cash would insult an NFL quarterback. 20? Yeah? Okay. Let's say it's 20. Insulting money, right? $20 million, 1 year and $20 million. Just put it there. If he can't get anything from the teams that he either thinks or hopes are interested in him, or the other one that actually is, meaning the Giants, then he might come groveling back to us and be this. What if? I've had that in the back of my mind for a while now, and I just wanted to lay it on the table. When we come back, I'm going to be joined by Chris Halleck.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Our good friend Carol has a one-track mind. It's all she does is Mason Rudolph like 24 hours a day here. So she comes in and she's like, yeah, you know me. I'll talk about Mason every day. Hi, Chris.
What's going on?
What's going on? Look at me today.
I think something happened last night. And
for those of you who just like Carol live on football and or Mason Rudolph, Sean Evans comes through and says, DK, it wasn't about the Steelers. I love the piece on the Pirates' finances. Really good reading journalism by your team. For everybody who missed it, it's on DK Pittsburgh Sports. We put months of work into investigating the team's money, how it's spent, how it's utilized, and we came to a stunning conclusion that they're actually losing money, which is the polar opposite of what everybody believes. When I say stunning, I mean it was stunning for us as a staff, wasn't it, Chris?
Yes, it was. I remember when you told me that. I'm sitting there probably as dumbfounded as you were.
and full credit, by the way, there's a group of unnamed people who helped us behind the scenes, who can't have their names out because of their actual things that they do for a living and whatever, and the work that they put in. Chris can attest to that too.
100%. Yeah,
we're all over this. My name's on it, but you're going to have to trust me that there was. I wish that I could have put everybody on there who deserved it. Chris, I know. I think you had a chance to pick up on the opening there.
Yeah.
What do you have?
I have had a hard time trying to gauge what the Steelers are offering Aaron Rodgers, other than the fact that it's a 1-year deal, most likely. And they know that they believe, in my estimation. Now, I haven't had somebody flat out tell me this, but from what I can pick up, that this is what they believe is their best home run swing for him trying to compete in 2025. That it gives them the biggest, it gives them a higher ceiling. That's the best way I could put it. Not necessarily a higher floor like I think Mason Rudolph would, but a higher ceiling. And so when it comes to what they're willing to pay for that, I think that's ultimately up to Mike Tomlin. And then obviously Art Rooney has to sign off on it because he's the owner, right? He's going to be the guy who ends up paying that money. But Mike Tomlin is probably the one who's really, really wanting this. And so when Mike Tomlin wants to win, if he thinks he has a plan in mind and wants to win, then he usually gets his way.
And then he usually doesn't win a playoff game. I mean, I don't want to be mean here. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know what he's done over the course of his career and everything. But at some point, someone has to take seriously the words that they say about the most important position in the game, if not the most important position in all of sports. And they have to say, listen, we have to do whatever we have to do as a franchise to get there. We have to make this happen. And if that means that it happens at the expense of other things, then we're going to do that. We're going to be all kind of mixing with sports here today. But the example, and I know you'll get this, Chris, that I think really jumps out at me is that when the Penguins decided that, hey, we have Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, we respect them. They're here. We hope they finish their careers here.
Yep.
But at the same time, we got to start getting some players in here who are, in their early 20s.
100%.
And if that means we don't win the Stanley Cup or even go for the Stanley Cup this year, so be it. So you started to see the Penguins make moves. Like the Steelers don't ever get to that phase, do they? Especially not at this position.
No, I think it's because the NFL draft is different than any other draft because these players don't go into a minor league system. These players have an immediate impact on the team, for better or for worse. And for a long time, the Steelers were phenomenal at drafting. Like we talked about this, I think, last week. If you go from 2000 to 2012, the worst first-round pick they had was Ziggy Hood.
Yeah.
They hit on every single one of their first-round picks, with two of them being, being like Ziggy Hood and Rashard Mendenhall. But like other than those two, they were, it was home run. I'm like Kendall Simmons. Okay, maybe that was kind of an okay one too, but still. The point is they drafted insanely well, which is why they were able to sustain that type of success. that draft success has dwindled. They have not drafted as well. And when you don't draft as well, it's hard to maintain success. I believe, and I think this is why one of the reasons why Mike Tomlin gets a bad rap is because I think he elevates any team that he coaches. He's going to make sure to finish at least 500. That will happen.
Yeah, over the course of a full season, he's going to keep you motivated enough and focused enough and locked in enough. That also a point that, by the way, Art Rooney makes himself out loud, that he's great at leading young men. Okay, and
no,
I mean, you still have to have a quarterback.
I agree with that, and I think Mike Tomlin is partially to blame for that. I think Ben Roethlisberger is partially to blame for that. I think Kevin Colbert is partially to blame for that. I think there are a few other people that are to blame for that. And
that's where I'm sorry, go ahead and finish.
No, I'm just saying that's they are in this hole right now because they didn't have a plan for after Ben retired. And
what I was about to say, actually, is that really does stick on KC because Kevin Colbert then decides in an almost like unusually dramatic way, whether it was intended that way or not, to say, this is my final act as GM. I bequeath to you Kenny Pickett. He is the chosen one. We know who he is. We don't have to go through any process. He was right next door. He just won the ACC championship of minor league football. And we are just set to go, right? Okay. The problem with that is that doesn't work. Not that the Patriots are the model for how an NFL franchise should find a quarterback to replace their main guy. Patriots have struggled from the moment Tom Brady said goodbye and onward. However, if you look at where they are currently, and they're not out of the woods.
No, they're not. Okay.
But they have themselves a young quarterback. They had themselves and have, okay, in a 25-year-old in Milton, okay?
And, I mean, they have Drake May, too. Like, that's going to be their guy.
No, I know. That's where I was going, okay?
Okay.
And then they say, well, hang on a second. Here's Drake May, 3rd overall pick. We're not done.
Yeah.
We're not done. We're going to just throw another one against the wall here. So May is there. I don't know that they're going to be able to keep Milton or that they're going to want to because they went and they got Josh Dobbs, and now you push him to 3. It looks like you're kind of giving up on him, right?
Yeah.
But the point is, it takes more than one to pull this off. Nobody gets that lucky. Your dream scenario is the old Steve Montana is ready to go, and then along comes Joe Montana is ready to go. Now here's Steve Young. Brett Favre is winding down. Oh, here's Aaron Rodgers. This happens so rarely in sports, and yet it gets cited as if it's somehow supposed to be the norm that you just have your. Now you can even throw Jordan Love into that. The Packers have just this magnificent line of ascension thing worked out. Okay, they're the freaks. Okay, everybody else, it takes a lot of this. It takes a lot of it. And I don't know how you do that if you just bring this guy in and stuff him into the room.
No, I agree with that. But the one thing that I can give credit now, it's one thing to hit on every single one of those picks. Whenever they get Aaron Rodgers, to hit on that was awesome. And then to hit on Jordan Love was also awesome. Both, by the way, late first round picks, not top 10, not top 5, not, later in the first round. So kudos to them, but they also had that plan. They had an aging quarterback. They knew they were going to want to take a quarterback, and they were going to want to let him develop for at least one season, if not multiple seasons. They did that with Rodgers. They did that with Love. The Steelers didn't do that. They drafted Mason Rudolph in the 3rd round, which, okay, that's cool, but you can have a first round grade on him. That's fine, but you could have gotten a better quarterback in 2019. You could have gone in the first round, but they didn't want to do that. In 2020, Jalen Hurts was sitting right there in the 2nd round, and they took Chase Claypool instead. there were opportunities for them to do that while Ben was the quarterback, and they didn't do it. And they didn't do it because Ben was going to throw a gigantic hissy fit if they did, because look at the fit that he threw when they drafted Mason Rudolph. Imagine the hissy fit he would have thrown if they would have drafted Jalen Hurts. And yes, publicly. In the if they would have taken Jalen Hurts in the second round, who would have absolutely been a much bigger threat than Mason Rudolph. Yeah, Ben would have thrown a big gigantic fit over that. So Ben is partially to blame on this, but it's also on Kevin Colbert and Mike Tomlin for not just putting their foot down and saying, okay, we don't care if it hurts your feelings or not. We have to start thinking about life beyond you because you just wrecked your arm and you're old.
Cody Craven says Mason deserves a legit shot. This is a year of QB evaluation, not for a Super Bowl team. That brings me right back to the Penguins parallel. It really does. No,
I agree with that. Yeah.
Do you follow me? If you listen to what Kyle Dubas, the Penguins general manager, says on a regular basis, he said, listen, I'm not pretending. We're not ruling out if the team, let's just say, for example, that this team wasn't the defensive disaster, the Penguins, early this season that they were, right?
Yeah.
And they made a push, not this past week,
right?
But like going back to
in January,
November, when it mattered, right?
Right, right. Yeah.
If that had happened, and Dubas says, all right, listen, guys, I see you. I appreciate you. He can go ahead and add temporary pieces. He can build it up. So go, do what you want. But it's not going to change the underlying tone of what we're building here. Steelers don't do that. Tomlin just walks into the process thinking, what do I have to do to win in 2025? And there's never anything further than that. And he never had to worry about quarterback his first 18 years. Well, not his first 18 years, for as long as Ben was there.
Right.
He never, everything with Ben was just, I don't have to worry about quarterbacks in general. There's no quarterback competitions. There's none of that stuff. All I have to do is build up the mighty Pittsburgh defense and let the rest take care of itself. And they should be well past the stage of allowing that sort of thing from the top here. Rick Love says Ben walked into a really good team. QBs can either get destroyed or made by the team. Well, Ben's also great. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Ben.
Let's not. I mean, I understand. I understand. I just ripped Ben pretty toughly, but I also understand that Ben Roethlisberger is a first ballot Hall of Famer, and it's not a question.
He's also a lot of people don't like to think of it this way because of the Steelers of the 70s.
Yeah,
he's got a strong argument for Mount Rushmore territory.
Yes,
in this franchise.
100%.
Okay, so let's keep full context.
Yes,
on everything here. Okay. Nora wants to know, how are you? Also, can I ask you something? You know what's funny about this? This is one of those Twitch, like this isn't even real. You just have to put it up just to be.
It's definitely a bot.
They all come in like that, right?
Where it's just one sentence. There's no periods or breaks or anything like that. It's all lowercase. How are you? Also, can I ask you something? It's just one sentence.
Actually, you know how we can do? You know what we can do here? We can say, "Hey, Nora, you can become a member. Hit dkps.net/join 700 times, Nora." Come on, Nora.
So good.
You can be our best member of all time. Brett comes in with a $10 contribution on Nora's behalf. It says, I wish the Steelers would just give Aaron Rodgers a deadline, like tomorrow at 4 p.m. so you can cover it. I'm meaning on the show, right? He wouldn't want you to write anything, Chris. He just wants you to be on here talking about it.
I'll tell you what.
Leave it. Be done with this.
Written. Yeah.
Mason is the real QB1. And yes, that's the dirty little secret that Chris wants you to know. He has a story written because that's how we operate in this business. He has it on his screen. It's ready to go.
It's
how much money did they pay him in your story?
X. It's just waiting for
Roman numerals. It's 30 million.
Yeah, no, it's just waiting. It's just waiting for me to plug the numbers in, and then it's ready to go pretty much. Listen, I understand like the whole deadline thing, but listen, I think them signing Mason Rudolph, to me, yeah, you don't want to sit here and wait around on Rodgers, but I don't think it's also affecting much because the TJ Watt extension that's going to be coming, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. that will clear cap space. That's exactly what the Bengals just did whenever they gave Jamar Chase and T. Higgins their extensions. They adjusted their cap. That's funny. Thanks, Cody. I find your content fascinating.
But Nora's back with more. Send me a request on my Discord and I'll show you my work.
Oh man, but like that TJ Watt extension is going to clear the cap space that you need. So they are, if they need to sign Aaron Rodgers and it's a $30 million contract or whatever it is for this year, they can do the TJ extension, adjust his cap hit from the 30.4 million it is this year, and it can dwindle down to 15 or 20 or whatever it needs to be to make the cap work. If there's anything that I'm not worried about when it comes to this team, it's the salary cap, because Omar Khan knows exactly what he's doing when it comes to the cap. So yeah, there's they still have a lot of flexibility regardless of the type of contract. And again, you have Mason Rudolph. You have a high floor quarterback that you're going to avoid a disastrous season if he ends up being your QB1.
With the support of the team.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody who's ever spent time in any capacity in a big league locker room or big league environment will know that the players will find a way to tell you that they either do or don't believe in someone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We don't have to wonder about that in this case.
No,
that's one of the hardest sells, by the way, that you have in terms of building a team is, hey, here's a quarterback. Well, we need you to believe in him. We need you to want to protect him. We need you to run your routes for him. We need you to want to do these things. He's there. He's in the building. James Fairfield says, I love this point. I started this earlier to make sure we'd get to it. A 42-year-old quarterback making it healthy to the playoffs is like believing in the Easter Bunny. Now, there are two schools of thought on this as it relates to Rodgers. One of them is the 2024 season in which he logged all 17 games, to his credit. He did. Okay. I don't know that he was coming off of an Achilles injury. So he, for one way or another, for one reason or another, battled through it, earned his money from the Jets. Full credit, full acknowledgement. In 2023, what did he play? One series?
I think he got
the first series.
First series, yeah, it was like
first series,
yeah.
And it was non-contact.
I don't remember.
He just kind of rolled out to his left or something, if I remember correctly, and just went down.
I think he was I think there was contact, or he was being pressured or something, and just him going to the ground, the angle at which I think that's when you saw the Achilles just rupture.
And that's what happens.
Yeah.
And it comes out of nowhere, and it doesn't have all that much to do with your injury history, because the thing that makes you older is undefeated, until the scientists figure out how to reverse that thing.
I got up from the couch yesterday and I heard literally 6 different bones just make sounds. I'm like, I'm 37 years old, and I don't even imagine Aaron Rodgers, who has logged almost 2 decades of football, and he's in his 40s.
Yeah, my guess is his regimen's a little bit more disciplined than yours is over there, Hal.
You've seen my diet on the road.
Lyle says all of our diets on the road. What a way to live. Sports writers on the road. Lyle says, isn't Rodgers being paid by the Jets for the first year? No, he's a free agent.
Yeah, no, that they cut him.
There's some dead money. There's some dead money or so forth. Jay Moose just wants Nora to play quarterback. The good thing about Nora is, though, if Nora was the quarterback, she'd never say no. She'd go out to that huddle and she'd be all over this. She'd be like, "What do you need me to do, coach?"
Yeah.
Coach would be like, "Nora, we want you to just run right up the middle. Tush push." Let's see what we got here.
Tush push would be banned, by the way.
Is it going to be, though?
I don't know, man. I'm really curious to see that. That's one I really have no idea what kind of support that's going to have. I'm curious to see that when I get to the owners' meetings.
Mark Varlotta says he'll throw a party when Rooney finally decides to fire Tomlin. Paul Greiser says, "Hey guys, small potatoes question. I don't think so here. But if Rodgers does sign, do you see the Steelers allowing him to wear number 12? Just when you thought Bradshaw couldn't be more annoyed by the Steelers." Can I be devil's advocate here? Can I?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the easy way to handle this is to say, sure, Aaron, just find some other number that you wore at any point in your life or your childhood or whatever. And I'm sure he wasn't 12 since he was born, right? And then Rodgers goes ahead and changes it. On the other hand, you know what you can say? Because I've seen this happen too. You can kind of unretire a number temporarily, where you just say, hey, listen, first of all, this number has never been formally retired, which it hasn't. And you say, we're just going to do this for now, and you make it clear. The other one is you can say, hey, Terry, all those times you blew off literally everything that this team has done, including, funerals for your coach and your former teammates. All those times, Terry, hey, right here with your number. Okay. You could do that too. Just saying.
Yeah.
Okay. He has not exactly been the model former Steeler.
No, he is not. And I'm very aware of that. But I really don't see it. Really does seem that the numbers that are unretired, that are retired but not officially retired, don't ever seem to get touched. And plus, Aaron Rodgers just got done wearing number 8 in New York, and that is, unless they keep Corliss Waitman, and even then, I think Corliss Waitman would easily give away a jersey number. How many Corliss Waitman jerseys do you think are out there that have to be paid for?
Yeah, right. Bradshaw should have a say, says Phil. No, in what? Who's he? Other than what he did as a quarterback, who's he as a former Steeler? What kind of citizen has he been as a former Steeler? And Michael points out here that he didn't ask for Namath's number when he went to the Jets. Obviously, Namath was 12 and Rodgers did his thing. So this is really a non-issue, if you think about it here. Don says, how will the starting quarterback change how Mike Tomlin gets evaluated in 2025? Will there be higher expectations or more leniency based on the QB? I understand what Don's asking. Or is the current situation just another indictment against Tomlin? This is where it has to be understood or reminded, I should say, that he's not a head coach with someone else being the GM. And the two paths never intersect. His fingerprints are all over everything, including the roster, including the mindset, including the actual players, including getting in the car and going around to the various combines and, in Alabama, having dinner with Jalen Milroe. So everything needs to be put into the pile when evaluating Tomlin. That's my answer.
Yeah. I don't think 2025 is going to be a great year to evaluate almost anything because, again, I want to see what Mike Tomlin does when it comes to a quarter. Now, let me take that back. If they have to go the route of drafting a young quarterback and he has to end up playing, I'm curious to see what kind of development takes place because we've already seen them miss on Kenny Pickett. And so, because the perception out there is that Mike Tomlin can't develop a quarterback, and we really don't have enough data at hand. Yeah, we don't really have enough data at hand to say Dan's name.
I'm so sorry. I hate when I do that. Just go back for a second here. Yeah, the boss here writes, he meant Dan. It was Dan Van who came in with the $20 contribution and the really good question, and I butchered his really complicated first name. Oh, the boss thought that was funny. I'm sorry, Chris. Please complete the thought. I apologize.
No, you're good. I'm just saying, if there's a young quarterback, if it's Jalen Milroe, if it's Jackson Dart, if it's Tyler Shock, whoever it is, I'm more curious to see that. If it's Aaron Rodgers, we kind of know what the season's gonna end up being. It's either gonna be it's probably gonna be a 9-8 or 10-7 season, and they're probably gonna lose in the first round again. I'm more curious to see what Mike Tomlin does whenever they have another franchise or draft a guy to be their franchise quarterback. That's what I'm more concerned about with Mike Tomlin more than anything 2025 has to have in store.
Our very good friend from the center part of the state, the PEF, comes in and with a refreshing question, says the PEF. Ooh. If the Steelers had a minor league team, hang on, I got to do the PEF imitation here. DK, it's the PEF with a refreshing question for you. If the Steelers had a minor league team, where would they play and what would be their name? How did I do? I got to get a grade from the PEF here on how I did with my PEF imitation here. If the Steelers had a minor league team, where would they play? I would say that they would play. How about in Latrobe? Get the Westmoreland County, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be kind of neat?
That would be cool.
You could play at Latrobe Memorial. You know what I'm saying? Not on the campus, obviously. You don't have enough seats,
right.
but where the night practice is. At Latrobe Memorial. You like that? Cool. Now you need a name here.
Oh man, I don't even know.
How about the Palmers, the Arnold Palmers?
Oh, that's funny. That's good.
Huh?
That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
The Rolling Rocks.
The Rolling Rocks.
And whatever you guys got here, and while we wait on that, let's see how the PEF thinks I did here. The PEF says I will give you an A-. Come on, the PEF. I even had glasses on. Well done, DK. Huh?
Always room for
the PEF is proud. Apparently not enough. We will have you back on, my man. We had to change the formats here with some stuff. We're getting it all together. We'll figure stuff out. We absolutely loved and valued your contributions. Just with the live show, it's a little bit complicated logistically. Joshua Dobbs, and not to be confused with the rocket scientist. Not that you couldn't be a rocket scientist, says Latrobe Legion. That's interesting.
That's pretty good.
Javon says Pittsburgh Steel Curtain. No, there's no room for them in Pittsburgh. You put a minor league team, you put it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Dan says, don't ask DK about names. Good call.
That's comment of the day right there.
Reiner says, Dolly, he brings customer support into the equation. I am a member of the YouTube channel, but I cannot sign into the DK Pittsburgh Sports app to read the articles. Can you investigate? Oh, I think he's being funny. Can you investigate this for me? Thanks. They're not the same. They can't, if presuming you're being serious, or anybody would be serious about this, they're separate memberships. They just can't be the same. YouTube has its own mechanism, and the website has its own mechanism.
We couldn't have any employees if it costs 99 cents.
And we wouldn't be able to support the business if on the DKPS end, if we were charging 99 cents a month, we'd be out of business in about 2 seconds. We can pull that off here. Joshua says the Cranberry Mashers. No, we're not going to Cranberry. It's so lame, mall country suburbs.
Yeah.
We got to. What about the Latrobe Lamberts? The Tomlin Mediocre? Did I see?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Latrobe DKs only if they're named after Metcalf. I Cal U has a stadium. They actually have a pretty nice one too. Where else can you actually host one? Minor leagues? Are you kidding me? Football in Western Pennsylvania? You can throw a rock from one to the next.
Yeah, it's football. People are going to show up.
And there are some elite, not quite Texas sized or whatever.
Oh my gosh, Texas.
Okay. Yeah. Chris, tell us about Texas high school stadiums.
Gosh. So I remember playing freshman high school football and playing in a stadium that sat 30,000 fans. Now, there were not 30,000 people there. There were probably maybe 1,000, 2,000, something. I mean, even then, for a freshman football game, that's still a lot, in my opinion. But you got like Allen, Texas, which is north of the DFW Metroplex.
Oh, it's crazy!
It's ridiculous.
These things are like 30,000 seats.
Yes, like 30,000. Like maybe Mesquite Memorial isn't 30,000, but it's definitely over 20. I used to play at Mesquite Memorial Stadium. Look it up. Yeah, it's crazy.
The boss likes Dolly's Dolly's raisins.
The raisins
Yes.
is good.
The Allegheny. No, we're not putting them in Allegheny County. It's the minor leagues. Minor leagues just don't work here. They really don't. This is a major league town. The Latrobe Lithium, they have lithium under all those rolling hills? I don't know. Let's get one more real question from somebody here today, if we can, before we sign out for the day. Javon comes in and says no to Rodgers. Go get Joe Milton. Start Mason. Why is Tomlin such an old fanboy? This is actually a better question than you might know, Javon, because when I think of Tomlin and the way he reacts to these guys, I think of most recently there's a posed picture. Carl Roser, the team photographer, who does a great job, by the way.
Phenomenal, yeah.
Yeah, he's epic talent. They're very fortunate to have him. He was doing the shots of these free agents when they were in last week that we were all meeting with. And Tomlin has this picture with him standing with his arms around DK Metcalf on this side, Darius Slay on the other side. And he looks like he just got done asking for their autographs. That's how into this he is. And when you hear the stuff, like there's now a sideline clip that's floating around where Tomlin's talking about Metcalf while the Steelers are playing in Seattle against him. And he's telling his guys, watch out for DK is Metcalf this, whatever. And he just turns into a fan. You've heard Ramon Foster on his show, Chris, describe him as that. He is a fan of the game, a fan of the players. But sometimes that can,
it can be a little blinding, but I think he also finds guys, and DK Metcalf is one of them. Metcalf talked about that in his press conference, that meeting that they had at the Combine. That made a lasting impression on him. Later on to this point, when DK Metcalf is requesting a trade and he knows the Steelers call, and he said the thing that came to his mind was that meeting he had with Mike Tomlin in Indianapolis. That work that he does during the preseason, even if they don't end up drafting that player, it ends up paying dividends later on. Same thing happened with Landon Roberts. Tomlin loved Landon Roberts during the pre-draft situation. Now, obviously, they didn't draft him. He ended up playing for the Patriots and the Dolphins, but later on, opportunity presented itself for them to pick him up, so they did. And Roberts had a little bit of a revival.
He did, and here again with the Rockstar thing, a little story to share. I was covering a preseason game in Atlanta. This was in the 2023, and I spent some time with Tomlin, and we happened just by coincidence to walk out of the room together, right? Mm-hmm. And Elandon walks by, and Tomlin points to Elandon, and he says to me, "That's the guy you got to be interviewing. That's the guy right there." And then he's doing, that's how he is, right?
Yeah.
But he's making a statement that he's like, "I can't believe we have this guy. This is awesome. This is tremendous." We do actually have one more question that came with a contribution. I always like to get all of those. Trent says, and this one's for you, Chris. Yeah. What would you trade to get back into the second round? I suggested Calvin Austin and a third and a fourth round comp picks. A run-first team. He isn't ideal. I know a certain offensive coordinator who would disagree with you on that one, Trent. Arthur really loves him some Cal.
Yeah, he does. And while he doesn't use a ton of 11 personnel, there will be opportunities for Calvin Austin to get open with DK Metcalf and George Pickens on the same field. So, first off, you can't trade compensatory picks you don't have yet. And the Steelers don't get those until next year. So you can't trade those picks yet. In terms of what you would trade to get back into the second round, well, you could float George Pickens out there and see if he can grab a second. The other thing you could possibly do is wait until draft night and get to 21 overall and see who picks up the phone and who's willing to trade up. I thought about that being a possibility, but the more and more I'm looking at this draft class, it's not a top heavy draft. It's a deep draft class, but it's not very top heavy. And so I have a hard time, unless there's a couple of guys that just fall. There might not be a lot of teams who are willing to trade up several spots to get to 21 where the Steelers could possibly recoup a second round pick. So I'm skeptical right now, but I'm also going to wait and see whenever I talk to more people in the organization. But those two situations to me are probably the most likely, either trading George Pickens or trading back in the first round.
Chris, appreciate it. We'll do one more tomorrow, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good.
We're getting asked here on the we're saving this for the business portion of the show. And we have a business portion of the show. Javon, who just came in with a contribution that was appreciated, also wants to know, how do you become a member? And we have one of the things we have to remember when we do this, although we see a lot of familiar names in the chat, there's always constantly new names and new faces coming through. And Javon's happens to be one of them. The way to do it is to type into your web address. There isn't some kind of magical button or shortcut for it. dkps.net/join. And that'll take you right to it. It's 99 cents a month. It doesn't cost anything. The principal effect of it is that you support the show. You give us a reason to keep doing it. The other effect is that you get some perks, you get some good stuff, you get eventually, and soon actually, the way this is shaping up, maybe by training camp, we're going to be doing members-only shows, members-only chats. At the moment, you kind of get to the front of the line, whenever we're putting the questions on the screen and so forth. I want to thank other people, including you, Javon, who came in today and contributed. Our man, the barber, came in with lots of aliases with $1 each here. Santino came in with just a thanks for the great coverage. Dan, I owe one last apology too for calling him Don. Trent came in with she still finds that funny. It's a really complex name. Trent gave us a contribution on his way in just now. Steven, with what's called a super sticker, what YouTube calls a super sticker, came in with $10. Brett did that same amount earlier on whenever he threatened Rodgers. And Kerry never fails with the one gift. And you see Brent Haynes coming in with 5. Had some new members along the way. Welcome, Ruben. It's good to have you. Bo came in. Welcome to Bo. We're building it up here. Let's see. What's the number now? Well, you're laughing over there, not counting up the numbers here. She's going to check what the membership number is as it relates to our goal of 3,000. I think we're kind of setting ourselves up now so that the goal would be hit, and it's a reasonable one to have by training camp. Hey, look, if we get there before that, we're open to adjusting the goal. But 3,000 is the one that the halfway mark has been hit. Can't this come with fireworks or something? What kind of producer do we have over there? There should be like things shooting out of the little comment balloon or something here. Oh, she's dinging the Ramon Foster substitute emergency bell over there.
This is the
you ring it about
Breaking
as
Bad.
well as you ring it like the way Ramon
Breaking
does.
Bad bell.
Yeah, this does sound like what was the character in Breaking Bad that would Salamanca. Was that his name?
Yeah.
Salamanca would ring. Man,
It
Salamanca.
has to be on a solid surface.
Oh, it does? No, it's Casey Kester, our guy who sent us these bells, he sent one to Ramon and one to me in case something would ever go wrong.
No, I just think we don't know how to use it.
Yeah, we're terrible at it. Anyway, guys, why would you still be watching? Here, the PEF says it's Hector Salamanca was his full name. Of course, the PEF would be Hector Salamanca. Jay Mood says, keep it going. We're halfway there. Cody Craven says, what a show. No doubt, in full sarcasm mode. And we're getting there. Biggest, best, strongest, and most supportive community of Steelers fans on YouTube. That is the objective here. That's what we're headed for here. We keep it clean. We don't talk politics. We don't do any of that other nonsense. We're here to talk about your favorite football team. Guys, we will be back with one more of these shows tomorrow, and that is a promise.